Well, hello again. This is Mr. Tom here with another weekly video for you. This week we are going to make rubber band propelled boats, like a paddle boat. So it's July. It's been very hot, very humid. I don't know about you, but I think being at a pool or a lake sounds really refreshing right about now. So kind of in keeping with that sort of water theme, I thought we would go ahead and try to make a little paddle boat. So you see here I got a tray of water, and I'm going to show you what materials you need. Alright, well, let's take a look at the materials we have. So as I showed you before, we have a pan of water here. Okay, so we are going to be making our boat with craft sticks, and the body of the boat will be styrofoam. Okay, so let me just kind of push this aside for now. Alright, so let's zoom in a little bit and I'll show you what this setup is. So I cut out a kind of a triangle piece of styrofoam here. I used a utility knife. Okay, and then I also cut out these two little cubes here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our craft sticks. I'll just go ahead and place them how they're going to be. So a craft stick here and a craft stick here. Now there are multiple ways, of course, that you can attach these. You could use just little strips of tape on the top if you like. That's okay. I'm actually going to be using a hot glue gun. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and place a dot here, 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 and here. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you how that looks. There we go. Might take a couple of squeezes for it to start coming out. So I'm just placing my dots on the stick, the ends of the stick. Right here. Alright, and it doesn't take very long for these to dry. So make sure you got it in the position that you want it in. Go ahead and press down. Okay. And, oh, do be careful, that is hot. Not hot enough to burn you, but you do want to be a little careful. Especially want to be careful not to touch the metal part here. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this craft stick. One dot, and my second dot, and the same thing. I am just going to lay that down, put it into position. Okay, now you might notice some little stringy pieces of glue hanging around. That's okay, you can just peel those off. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and let this dry for a minute, so we'll pause right there. Okay, now I've given this a couple of minutes to dry. Now you might see that I went ahead and added a rubber band here in the middle. Alright, so we are going to use elastic energy. So we talked about that a couple times in previous videos. Remember, elastic energy is a type of potential energy, which is stored energy. So when you wind up a rubber band and you hold it still, it's got all that stored energy in there. And of course, when you let it go, it's going to want to unwind. So that's potential energy, or elastic potential energy, converting into kinetic energy, which, if you remember, is the energy of movement. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, this is going to be my little propeller here, so I just cut a craft stick in half, and I cut 2 notches in there to sort of pinch this end together, and I reinforced it with some hot glue. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide this through the middle of the rubber band, and I'm going to wind it back. Wind it back. Okay. See how it's really winding up that rubber band, adding tension. Of course, the more tension you put on it, or the more potential energy you give it, the more kinetic energy it's going to result in. But of course, there's a balance. You don't want to wind it up so far that you end up snapping anything. So I think this is pretty good right here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and place this in the water, and we'll see if it moves. A little bit. I got a little wet. Let's give that one more go. One more. Okay. Let's do this again. Well, it works somewhat. So as you do this, of course, a part of doing these kinds of crafts and experiments is figuring out how you can improve on it. So one thing you might want to try, actually, is on either end of the rubber band, you can attach this to the craft stick. Okay, so as you're winding and as it unwinds, it doesn't slide up or down and maybe force the propeller to run into the styrofoam. So that might be something you can try. You can also try a larger paddle. It's up to you. But it's a pretty fun experiment to do. Gets you a little wet, but for it being as hot as it is, I think that should be just fine. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next week for another video.